Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is your daily dose of mind stuff with Ed Reiner. I want to thank you for joining me today on day 12. We're on day 12, and today we are going to switch it up. We've been hearing from Bob all of this time. So today I've got a video with Sandy Gallagher of the Proctor Gallagher. She was Bob's partner. She now runs the company. And this video, she talks about her journey a little bit. And if you're ready to and willing to change, because in order to grow at all, in order for us to move in the direction we want to move, we have to be willing to change. And Bob used to quote all the time, he'd say that people don't resist change when it's their choice. They resist change when someone's trying to change them. So we have a choice. And Sandy goes over this really good. She explains her story on what she did to change. And it's pretty amazing because she had a pretty phenomenal job. She was already super successful. So let's go over and we will listen to Sandy, and I will see you afterwards with a little bit of a recap. Here we go.
You know, what I'm going to do is get you to think about a few things, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of what we're going to get into. But I like to start with what Steve Jobs said. So look at that. He said, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, what would I want to do? Would I like to do what I'm about to do? And if the answer is no for too many days in a row, I know I need to make a change. So I want you to just imagine you're looking in the mirror and it's Monday morning. You're back home, Monday morning, and you look in the mirror and you ask yourself, do I want to do what I'm about to do today? And if the answer is no, ask yourself, how long has the answer been no? He says days. I've gone out in the room and asked people, how long has the answer been no for you? And I've heard things like 10 years, 20 years, even 40 years. And I think about that. And I think about those points in life where you get to the point where you have to make a pivotal decision. Am I going to do what I really want, or am I going to keep doing what I'm doing? And I think about the moment when I hit send. Now, what I'm talking about there is I had been, well, first, when I went to that seminar in 2006, you know, I swear my head was chopped off, shaking all around. When I came into that seminar room, I thought everything was going pretty good in my life. And I wasn't really thinking about what I wanted to get out of the seminar other than learn some leadership skills. And then Bob just took me on this whole different path. And he kept asking, what do you want? What do you really want? You know, and something about the way he was asking it, the energy he was putting out, and how he kept telling us, you can have anything you want. You can be anything you want. And I started to build a belief that that was the case. So maybe the third time he said, what do you really want? And I opened my book, seminar book, and I wrote in teeny tiny print, I want to be Bob Proctor's closest advisor. I want to be in the inner circle of this company. And I want to create a program with him to bring into the boardrooms and executive offices that I'd been in for almost 2 decades before I ended up in that seminar. I was doing bank mergers and acquisitions, forming banks and other financial institutions, doing IPOs. And I loved the work I was doing. But in this seminar, I just got this idea that there was a bigger purpose for me, that I could make a bigger impact, a much, much, much bigger impact. So I wrote this down, and what did I do? I slammed the book shut. I had written it in teeny tiny print so no one could see it. I wouldn't share with anybody at my table, and the mental chatter that was going on in my head was just insane. Who do you think you are? Bob Proctor doesn't even know who you are. He's got a great team. Why would he need you? You don't know anything about personal or corporate development. How are you going to do this? What about your 401k? you know, and you're an equity partner in your law firm. They can't kick you out. You get profits for the rest of your life. Why would you leave that? And then I could hear my dad, Sandra, be prudent, because he was a client at the time. I practiced on Wall Street, and then I practiced with my dad for about 4 years before he became a client. And oh my gosh, when I was thinking, what would your dad think? Oh my gosh. And I could just hear his voice. Sandra, why would you give all that up? I remember one time I asked Bob a little ways down the road, and after the seminar, and I said, gosh, I wonder what my dad will think that I'm thinking about leaving the law. And he looked at me. He goes, how old are you? And I'm looking at him baffled, like, why is he asking me how old I am? I didn't even get it. And he asked me again, how old are you? I'm like, oh, wow, yeah. Why am I wondering what my dad's going to think about? By the end of the weekend, I fell in love with this so much. And fast forward, created the program, started volunteering with the company. And then in December of 2008, Bob asked me to come in and run the companies as CEO. And there were 19 companies. It was a big challenge that I was taking on. I said, yeah, this is a great opportunity. And he said he would do everything I said. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this. But I kept heading up my practice group in the law. I kept practicing law. I kept working on the program that we finally released in April 2009. And one day in May of that year, 4.5 months after I took over as CEO, Bob comes up to me and goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, what? I can do it all. I can practice law. I can work on this. I've got this. And he looks at me with that Bob Proctor look, just, glaring in my eyes. And he's like, what are you doing? He goes, are you in or are you out? And he said it in that voice like, I knew I had to make a choice. And I had already written the letter that I was going to send to all my clients, my colleagues, even my dad. And I had this letter and I had it queued up, and it was going to over 2,000 people. And I would look myself in the mirror and I would say, do you want to do what you're about to do? Drive down to the high rise in Seattle, go up there and work on these deals that I used to love working on, but now I saw a bigger purpose? And the answer was no, and it had been no for quite a while. But I couldn't hit send. I froze. And so I called Bob and I said, I wrote this letter, I have it queued up, but I can't hit send. And in a booming voice, he said, jump, hit send, jump, you'll develop wings along the way. Now, he didn't say it like that. I swear they could hear in the hotel next door how he said this. And the second time he said jump, it was this booming, booming voice, and it just shocked me, and boom, I hit send. And then I went to the outbox to see maybe, please, it got hung up in the outbox, and it didn't really go out. And I saw it in the outbox. And you know that noise? Shh. Tommy, where's that? Shh. There we go. And I heard that, but I'm still checking the outbox, praying it didn't go out. Because what does Steve Jobs say? If the answer's no for too many days in a row, you got to make a change. He said, I know I need to make a change. And I hit send, and I look in my outbox, it's there. And the next day, about 24 hours later, I think it was 893 replies. And I had just beautiful replies. Like, I wish I had that kind of passion. I wish I was doing something like that. I wish I had the courage to do something like that. And then I had 3 responses that I'll never, ever, ever forget. And I think of it every time I bring this slide up. There are 3 lawyers who are excellent lawyers, been doing this for over 40 years, and they all said essentially the same thing. I would love to do something like that, but I'm going to sit here at this desk till the day I die. And I think back on that, and they meant it. They were not willing to make a change. And I think back and I think, thank God that I sent that email. Thank God I was willing to make the change, even if I did have to pick up the phone and have Bob yell at me in order to do it. But I didn't. You got to be willing to make a change. You have to make room for the good you desire. If you keep trying to do and stay on the track you're on, you're not going to give room to the good that you desire. So you got to ask yourself, see, are you willing to change? Why would you change? Because you want to grow. Why do you want to grow? Because we're spiritual beings. Spirit is for expansion and fuller expression. When you are not expanding and growing and expressing yourself, you're dying. You're dying inside, and your spirit is just screaming out at you. And you can hear it in many different ways. You see it expressed in your physical body, you see it in your energy level, you see it in the people you're attracting around you. Are you moving forward or are you moving backwards? If you want to grow, and we all want to grow, you have to change. You have to embrace change. And it's not easy. And a lot of people just don't do it. That's why so few are really living the life they want. I remember being interviewed by Larry King, and I asked him that question because he had interviewed, the most well-known people, high-profile people over his career. And I asked him, of all the people that you have interviewed, how many do you think are really living the life they want to live? And he answered, very few. Very few people are really living the life they want to live. And so you got to answer this question. Are you willing to change? And you might say yes now, but you got to be willing to change, and you got to lock that in as part of your paradigm, because that's what's required.
Okay. So that is what is required. You have to be willing to change. Now, here's the thing, and I'm trying to move my chair around. I got stuck in a divot. It's a great story by Sandy for showing how we all hit this freezing point, this what we call a terror barrier. And Bob has gone over this in earlier episodes. He touched on it in the first 7, the foundational episodes that we did. And so you grab this. Let's go to a whiteboard. So what happens is we have to be willing to change. But a lot of times, like she said, there's people that have been stuck with that answer that they don't like what they're doing. And it's been years and years, but they're not willing to change. And then when you are ready to change and you start to make a change, you hit this imaginary barrier. It's what we call the terror barrier. So what we're going to do, I'll go over this real quick. We'll get an idea of what this psychological mental process is that everyone goes through when they're stepping out to go after something that they really want, something that they love, or that they think they want to do. They don't know if they love it yet. All right, let's share. Make sure we're on. We'll go ahead and I will. No. There we go. All right. Let's do that. So, if you remember, we have this stick person that we are here. So this is us, okay? This is the mind, and here's the body. Okay, and if you remember, we have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So the first step that we go through in this process of change, this is where we are. This is where everyone is. This is bondage. This also can be referred to as the comfort zone. So this is where most people live. Okay. They're in a state of bondage. They're not free. They don't have a sense of freedom. They're stuck doing something that they usually don't want to do, going to a job that they hate. Okay. They're not free. They're not free to do what they want when they want with whomever they want. They're in a state of bondage. And a person in this state is thinking X type thoughts. Well, first, let's say down here, their their conditioning and behavior is X. Okay. We're going to refer to that as X. The results that they get are X type results. So we have X type results, X type behavior. The thoughts that that person is going to think, even though they can choose their thoughts and they can think anything they want, it's going to be X type thoughts. They're going to think thoughts that are in harmony with the behavior of where they're at. So now this person here moves to the next step. Okay. And this person will say, goes to a seminar like Sandy did. And they start to see that maybe there's something else in my life that I want to do. There's something bigger that I want to go after, something that excites me. So they move to this next stage, which is reason. Okay. They start to reason. They still have the X type behavior, but now as this power that flows to and through us starts to come in, they start to think this Y idea. Y, I don't want to draw another X. So they're thinking this Y idea and they start to reason with it. Okay. Maybe this is, as in Sandy's case, I want to be Bob Proctor's top advisor. I want to, be in his inner circle. I want to build a program, something that's totally different than what she was doing. And she built this Y idea. Okay. Y being bigger and better than X, whatever it is for person. It could be, I want to start an online business. I want to, quit my job and do something else. That's the Y idea. As long as this Y idea stays in the conscious mind, nothing happens. We can think about it, we can dream about it all day long because we haven't internalized it yet. So that the behavior is still X type behavior. We're still getting the X type results. The results don't change for us. So this is where people can be sitting here for years and they can reason with it. And they might start to step out a little bit, but it's just a kind of a fantasy. This is where we start to, they like Sandy was saying, what are your friends going to say? What's your wife, your husband going to say? What if I fail? You just start to reason. Now, the moment that a person takes that Y idea, actually, I need to make this a little bit bigger. Hmm, okay. Now, the moment a person starts to take this Y idea, we'll put a little thought cloud around it. That's what those are, thought clouds. They take this Y idea and they start to seriously, they've gone from reason, they're really starting to think about it, and they seriously are starting to think about it and they start to internalize it, which means they start to move this idea out or down into the subconscious mind. They start to add feeling to it. They move to this next stage. Whoop. Oh, I didn't realize I could do that. So there's a button on my pen here that if I click it, it turns on the eraser. Okay, so they move to conflict. The minute that this idea is impressed into the subconscious mind, we have conflict. So in the subconscious mind now, we now have an XY idea. And that's going to create conflict because what that does is that sets the body up in an XY vibration. It's a chaotic vibration. Okay. Immediately, when you start to entertain this idea, you set up this vibration. Is like Bob says, all hell breaks loose. Immediately in the conscious mind, we get worry and doubt start to flood the subconscious mind. We start to doubt our ability. We start to worry about what other people are going to think. All of this stuff hits us immediately. That then is impressed into the subconscious mind and becomes fear. We start to feel fear. And seeing what has happened is when we hit this conflict stage, we hit this imaginary wall, which we refer to as the terror barrier. And as soon as we hit this wall, all of these things start to flood our central nervous system. It sets up the chaotic vibration, worry, doubt, fear. All of these things hit us. And what we do is we hit this terror barrier and we jump right back and we bounce right back over into bondage. We go right back to bondage. And then we start to rationalize. Well, you really don't need to do that. It's safer here. At least we know what's going on. And that's where the comfort of the comfort zone comes from. You may not like this area of bondage over here, but it's comfortable. We know what to expect. But what we want is over here on this side, freedom. And the only way to get to the freedom is we need to bust through this imaginary barrier, this imaginary wall. And there's one way to do that, and that's we have to continually get emotionally involved in this why idea, and that worry and doubt will come up. And the only way to get rid of worry and doubt is we need to look at the opposite side of that, which is understanding. Let's put a U there. Understanding. There's only one way to get understanding, and that's through study. We have to continually study ourselves, study material like this. We have to study so we can gain an awareness of what is happening when we go through this process and how we break through. So once we have the study and we are studying ourselves and we understand what the worry and doubt is, that it's just in our conscious mind, then we move into the opposite of fear, which is faith. Now, faith based on understanding is the key to freedom. And when we have that and we keep impressing it, then we can bust through that imaginary wall. And then we're on the other side. We're on the other side to freedom. Now, that doesn't make the worry and the doubt and the fear go away. It's still here. But we now have an understanding of what's going on. We understand what's happening. And when we have understanding, just mind, faith. And that why idea, the more and more times we impress this why idea into the subconscious mind, eventually it will get rid of the X. and the X will disappear from lack of nourishment, and the Y idea is now impressed into the subconscious, which is setting up the vibration no longer of the XY. It's now a Y vibration, and now we're getting the results that we want. Now, here's the thing. When we've busted through this wall, the Y idea now becomes the new X. It now becomes the new comfort zone. Because as we are moving forward, we start to think of bigger and better things, larger stars that we want to reach for. And then this becomes the new bondage. And we go through the whole process again. However, the next time we go through it, we have an understanding of what's happening, and we can continually break through these barriers over and over and over again. And once we learn that process, we continually go through it all the time. So that is what we call breaking through the terror barrier. And that's what Sandy went through. And that's what she was explaining. And I think probably after that snippet from that we showed, they probably go and teach that section of the terror barrier. But it just hit me to go ahead and just do it with you now, because I'm just being moved by whatever Spirit is telling me to do. There. So that's it for, what was it on? What are we on here? Day 12? I think we're on day 12. Yeah. I'm gonna have to write myself a note so I can remember what days we're on as we move up. I can't imagine what's gonna happen when I'm on like day 78, something like that. So day 12, I hope you guys got value out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. Continue to watch these with me. Join me live. You know, you can make comments and I will see them. So as you're watching, go ahead and make comments. I have a comment section over here that I can look at. I can't, well, no, I think I figured a workaround to comment on Facebook. YouTube, not a problem. I can do that right within where I'm at. But if you found value in this, share this video. Help me get this information out there to other people. And if you are right now in a state where you're wanting to make a change, understand that you can, and understand what you're going to be going through. When you start to step out and entertain that new idea, you're going to run into fear. You're going to have the worries and doubts. But by continually watching this type of information that we put out here on the Daily Dose of Mind stuff, it's going to help you gain an understanding. And as I said, the understanding leads to faith. And the key to understanding is faith, is understanding based on faith is the key to freedom. And that's what we all want is freedom. But a lot of people are too scared to move because of that fear of that unknown. And here's the thing. Faith and fear require the same amount of energy. So if that's the case, why put any energy into fear? Put all your energy into faith. It requires the same amount of energy, and you can only think one thing at a time. You might as well go towards faith and move, because we have been gifted with these amazing faculties. We have unlimited potential. We need to believe in ourselves and move forward and go after what it is that we want. So that is it for today. I will see you guys tomorrow, and you guys have an amazing rest of the day. Bye.